How's everybody doing? In the midst of me being responsible lately, I broke that habit and I ordered a guitar. So this guitar is a nylon string acoustic, which I last played when I was in middle school 20 years ago. And I played it, the one that they had there, and I thought, this guitar is the biggest piece of shit I have ever put my hands upon, which it probably was. It was probably like the cheapest student level guitar you could possibly find. It was probably grimy and disgusting. The strings are probably flat, stretched out, totally out of life. And the neck felt like a 2x4. But over the last weekend, I started listening to Steven Wilson Jr., I believe is his name, on Bert Kreischer's cooking show and then on his podcast. And he played a couple of songs on a nylon string acoustic. And I thought, you know, I've definitely heard nylon string classical sounding acoustic parts over the years. I mean, even Buckethead uses them, but I've just always had this idea in my head that, like, yeah, they have a unique sound, but they just can't be played by a rational human being. But now, you know, I think just the emotiveness of what I heard over the weekend caused me to order this guitar to get that nylon string sound. And this one in particular, they advertise as having a more sort of close to conventional string spacing rather than like a 2-inch wide neck that feels like you're playing on a 2x4. So I ordered this. It's a Fender. I'm going to try to remember it. It has a lovely, memorable name, which is like CN-60S or something like that. Absolutely beautiful, memorable name. If that's wrong, I will put a caption in the video to correct myself, but I think that's what it's called. So I ordered this from Guitar Center. I've played a Fender in the sort of C series acoustics before. Actually, when I was visiting my cousin and my family in Cleveland, my cousin and I played at Guitar Center that was there, a handful of different guitars in the acoustic room, and I had grabbed one of this series of acoustics. I mean, granted, it was a phosphor bronze, metal string acoustic. And it also didn't play very easily, but it sounded completely beautiful to me. Like, the sound was like worth 10 times the price of what they were selling it for. And I was really considering buying that guitar out of the store in order to have it, even though I would have had to probably ship it back to where I live. So, but I didn't. And, you know, it wasn't particularly easy to play, but then again, a lot of acoustics are not easy to play from somebody that plays Gibson Les Pauls electrics. You can get a very low action, you know, the strings are lighter. It's just, I'm not really an acoustic player, but I really wrote off nylon strings at a young age, and now I'm trying to give them a second chance with this guitar, which is a little bit of a hybrid in terms of the string spacing that they advertise. I guess that's to be determined once I open it. But I ordered this from Guitar Center. It was fairly affordable, it was really very affordable, like a couple $100, maybe $220, something like that. And I guess we'll see if it seems to be worth any money. You know, if I end up turning around and reselling it, it's probably a $20 or $40 loss. It's not a huge deal. But let's go. Let's unbox it. So this, well, I don't really know what the top or the bottom is. It's hard to tell with this box the way they packed it. obviously, from Guitar Center, there is an overpack. I may have needed to put a cut there because the receipt was facing the other way. So it's called a CN-60S, Charlie November -60 Sierra. That is the name. I don't know if that's what I called it before, but that's what this guitar is called. Beautiful, memorable name. You know, it's like your first crush. You just remember Charlie November 60 Sierra, CN-60S. So there's the overpack. There's the Fender box. Got my receipt out of it. Really good packing job from Guitar Center. Pretty much fit, the overpack fit this acoustic box perfectly. So they really didn't even need to have any packing material. You know, as I say that, now watch this guitar be like somehow destroyed even though the boxes are fine. Let's see. Okay, so there's some spacers in the box from Fender. There's that covers the headstock. There's a spacer at the bottom. And then there's the guitar. So I'm hoping that this guitar arrived in good shape because it seemed to be packed well. The delivery driver was handling it pretty gently, even though it did not say fragile on it. They were being very respectful when they delivered it. You got a truss rod adjustment Allen wrench, some kind of a truss rod adjustment instructions. So, you know, I'm literally completely, I have no idea how nylon string guitars work, so I'm kind of impressed that there even is a truss rod. You know, I would assume that a nylon string guitar is just the most basic kind of guitar that we had to transition to after it became sort of passé to string guitar using the tendons and ligaments of our slain enemies. After that, they would have moved to nylon. So, these are my assumptions, and I'm obviously not a nylon expert. So, California says that I will have reproductive issues if I buy this. Thankfully, I'm already born, so I don't need that. Free guitar lessons. Don't need that. Well, I probably do, to be fair. So, actually, I'm kind of impressed. This is made in Indonesia. It's not made in China. I've been trying to avoid Chinese things because of geopolitical issues. So I really don't buy a whole lot of Chinese products, especially compared to the average American. There's something in this, like a piece of dust in this or something that I can hear. Yeah, hear that? I think I got it. Okay, so anyway, it's not made in China, it's made in Indonesia. It's black, as you can see. I think they offer a natural one, but I'm definitely a fan of solid colors when it comes to a guitar. So between natural or black, I chose black. I don't have a black guitar currently, so it kind of fits. It's got the Fender actual brand on the headstock. You can see the neck is not particularly wide, and it's kind of a classic body size, maybe comparable to like my 0018 Martin in terms of size. So it's pretty comfortable, like my arm can get over it pretty well. It's not a giant concert size. Not remotely in tune. It looks like The top, or I guess the bottom lowest 3 strings are actually wound, and then the highest 3 strings are just bare nylon. It has strap pegs that are tight, that are metal, so that's pretty cool. They're kind of in the locations you'd expect as a modern guitar player, so that's nice. I guess I really need to tune this, and then I can maybe give an opinion. But it feels like a decent quality instrument, like you would expect from something with the Fender name on it. So let me tune it, and we will get a couple of sounds maybe after that. All right, so that's roughly in tune. I don't know exactly how you're supposed to play. You know, the neck feel is honestly really good. So my initial takeaways are that this guitar is not super loud. It's pretty soft for its size, and it's really easy to play for an acoustic in general, which is kind of the opposite experience that I had with the only other nylon string that I ever played. It's very compliant. I feel like I'm throwing it out of tune by doing anything, so I'm gonna have to probably retune. Yeah, I gotta. The other thing is, I don't know how many times you really need to stretch nylon strings compared to metal. But I suppose I will find out. Well, these strings are definitely extremely stretchy. It's like the strings are very stretchy. This is a very, for the price especially, this is a very good feeling guitar. This feels better than the metal phosphor string one that I played before. The overall neck profile is more uniform than that guitar, and especially for what this is, it feels great. The neck has like a black binding to it, and the body, I don't know if the body has any actual binding or if it's just painted on the front like a pinstripe, because I don't see any change up the side, but it has like a bit of a white outline, white sound hole with like a pearloid looking detail. I don't know if that really comes across there very well, but that is the scheme of this guitar. The fretboard feels very dry from the factory, which is pretty typical. The setup is great. The setup is really good. The radius is pretty good. And overall, I would say that I'm impressed. Initially, I'm definitely impressed with this guitar. You know, it kind of smells like paint, which is funny because it's a very dark black coat of paint on it, but it really does, like, I guess it kind of smells woody. It's like equal parts wood and paint is what I'm getting from this. Like paint, not nitro, because it's not nitro. It's definitely like maybe a poly coat over black paint, but it's like you can smell this sort of like paint smell. You know, it smells like new lumber and paint. It doesn't really smell sweet or nitro-y or anything, which it shouldn't. This is a very inexpensive guitar, but you know what? I don't know how I could complain about it. I gotta put some lemon oil on this fretboard, and basically this might become a couch guitar and occasional use for that type of sound that I was looking for. The actual setup in the neck plays great. It just feels very dry, like my fingers are catching, and I'm not used to really playing these type of strings before. But this is definitely a more approachable option. You know, if you're in my position where you're kind of a traditional electric guitar player and maybe some steel, you know, phosphor bronze acoustic guitars, but you want to dabble in a nylon string, I would say this is a great option. The neck feels really good. It's like kind of a, it's maybe halfway between a C and a D-shaped neck, but it's closer to a D-shaped neck. It's really very playable. You know, it's easy to chord on. It's definitely a weird material to get a feel for, like, sliding on, but and of course it's strictly acoustic, so if you want to record with it or perform with it, you'd probably have to mic it, but you know, that keeps the cost down. You know, this is a really appealing guitar, being that it's like barely over $200. I mean, that's the appeal of it to me. It's, you know, it's well made. It's got the Fender name on it, even though it's imported from Indonesia. But it feels good. It sounds pretty good. I will say it's not super loud, so also that could be a bonus if you wanted a guitar. Like, let's say you lived in an apartment, it would be hard for somebody to complain about this guitar in an apartment. It's pretty well controlled. You know, this is about as quiet as the Orangewood acoustic that I played before, which I really liked, and I lived in my apartment at that time. Now I am in my own house. I don't need to necessarily be that quiet, but it also is nice. Like, if I were to want to record and throw a layer of acoustic on, if I was recording late at night, let's say, you know, when I record, I'm basically able to go full on electronic drum kit, which you can't really, it's not going to bother the neighbors if it's just being recorded. And my guitar is obviously going straight in through my Mesa into a cap clone into the computer. So that's not going to bother the neighbors. This wouldn't either. I could literally blast this guitar as hard as I wanted to in the middle of the night acoustically, and my neighbors would not hear a peep from my house to their house. Now, if you're in an apartment, maybe don't blast it in the middle of the night, but during the day with like normal sort of daytime activities, I think this doesn't get super loud. It's like, it's not like crazy loud. Strumming it really hard with 1.4 mil pick, and you know, you can definitely play it more like subdued. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to breaking this thing in, you know, season the fretboard a little bit, break it in a little bit, try to get a sense of the feel for nylon strings and get the tension settled where I don't have to keep retuning it. And then I think I'll be able to give like a proper review of this, and I'm actually not displeased with this at all. This is like a very nice looking, nice sounding guitar, and it's basically you know, can't really complain at all. So pretty nice. I like this a lot. I like the other one that was the metal stringed acoustic that I played from this lineup before. On sound, it was probably louder than this guitar, but the neck feel, it was like a V-shaped neck. It was not ideal. This neck is actually super comfortable. I think the neck profile that they used on this was the focus, because they're trying to get players who might want to, you know, who might be used to an electric neck. This feels very comfortable for an electric guitar player. So I think they did a fantastic job with that. So I think I need to just get it broken in, get it seasoned in a little bit, get kind of used to it a little bit, and then there's no reason why this guitar could not be just part of the family. You know, it's pretty nice. I can't find a single blemish on it. I've been really looking, and there's some daylight coming in, and I'm looking at reflections, and I don't see any blemishes on the finish at all, really. The bridge looks a little bit dusty, and like there's dust kind of around where the strings are, so I don't really know like how long it has sat, but I'm going to, you know, there's no reason why I can't put lemon oil on the bridge, which is exposed wood, as well as the fretboard, and kind of see how it looks. You know what, I might do that now, actually. See if I can get a little bit of season into it, and then show you a before and after. So this is the before, which obviously that is a dry neck and bridge. And then we'll see, I guess I'll just leave it here, and then I'll show you the after. And here's the best I can do to cut that in. You know, it's not really a whole lot darker. I'm not entirely sure what this fretboard wood is, but you know, it's all oiled now. The bridge is oiled. I put some lube on the strings. You know, maybe I can do a little bit of a jam. Let's see if I can find a backing track or something. Well, that was a pretty good little groove there. So yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like with somebody who never plays on nylon, fumbling around on it for the first 10 minutes or whatever that was. Yeah, I like it. I think I'm going to keep it. There's no issues that I can find. Yeah, it's a good little addition to my guitar family for something that has a nylon string sound. There's nothing that really, you can't make a guitar with metal strings sound like nylon, and I kind of came to the breaking point of that over this past weekend. Ordered this, very cheap. It feels more like an electric guitar or a traditional nut string spacing sort of width. Sounds okay, not super loud. I'm interested to see how it'll sound on camera with the sound hole facing the camera. Obviously with me playing it, it's going to sound quieter anyway, but we'll see on that. Tone is definitely fine. Yeah, no complaints, especially for the price. Can't complain about this at all. Feels good, has a good name on the headstock, sounds good, not super loud. You know, if you want a really loud booming one, don't get this guitar. But as far as the feel goes, the neck and the frets and the strings and everything, my initial impressions are it feels very comfortable, like very, very comfortable. You know, normally a nylon string guitar people avoid because it feels horrific if you're used to playing an electric guitar. This one feels super comfortable. As a Les Paul player, I can tell you this is very comfortable. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. You know, if you have any other suggestions for a comparable type of guitar, leave it in the comments below. And yeah, if you like this video, don't forget to share it and subscribe. Turn on notifications, and I will see you guys next time.